But the other thing is we've actually, what we try to get people to do is call your local legislators. A lot of legislators will actually say, we don't have gay people in our district. And we know that's not true, but it's just people aren't speaking up. So the first line of defense is getting people to realize we're here for you, but giving them the tools to be there for themselves too, which is making phone calls, talking to friends. There's a great national campaign right now that we're spreading, and it's called the Tell 3 campaign.
Well,
and what that is, it's really awesome. It's if you go to ACLU.org, the national website, you can type in Tell 3 in the search and you can get the website. But what it's supposed to be designed for is if you're LGBT, you're supposed to seek out 3 people in your life that you've never really had the conversation with. They might know you're gay or bisexual or lesbian, but you want to have more in depth. Why do marriages matter? Why do adoption laws matter? And then have that conversation, kind of get that white elephant out of the room. But the other great component is if you're straight, they give you a charge as well. You're supposed to tell 3 people about what it is to have gay friends, or what do you know about like what's going on with gay and lesbian rights in Louisiana. So it's the whole, if you tell 3 people and you ask each one of them to tell 3 people, it came off of Prop 8. So it's kind of just an awareness raising project.
Okay.
So it's a really neat project that anybody can do in their living room because you can just have a conversation over dinner with someone. So that's why we really like that one.
In these meetings that you call in various cities, do you sometimes cover the topic of church-state separation?
Definitely. I mean, that was mainly our week in Monroe, Shreveport, and Ruston was church-state separation because of the Louisiana Science Education Bill. We were there with Darwin Day events. Yeah. And that is mainly, we in Louisiana, because we're a very small affiliate, we're not national, we cover religious liberty, LGBT, racial justice, and we have a full-time prison litigator. So we do prison reform.
You have a full agenda there.
We do, but we have to condense it. We don't. National has much bigger agendas, but we have to. We try to condense it here for what we think is most important, and the idea of religious liberty, and that's our big thing. It's religious liberty because we do believe in the separation of church and state, but we also believe in each person being able to practice the religion she or he chooses.
We have to agree with you, and I hope our audience understands that we do not proselytize. Our purpose is not to take anyone's faith away, but what we do want to do is to let those people out there who are interested know that we're here, and as our recent streetcar sign said, you are not alone. Because I get calls from people who say to me, I thought I was the only one. And that's a very uncomfortable feeling. So you are when you have these meetings, this is a topic for discussion among people who may have various views on religion and on church-state separation. Definitely.
I mean, our legal department has had things from, earmarks of bills going to churches, and that's a separation of church and state issue, but also filing an amicus brief in favor of someone who was reading the Bible on a street corner. So, that's the thing. That's why I think ACLU a lot of times can get a bad rap from the public, because I think sometimes we're on 2 sides of an issue. And it's not 2 sides of an issue. We're just following the Constitution. But they see this separation of church and state, and then at the same time you see us defending a Christian. Well, so it kind of goes both ways,
When we attempted to put our ad on the streetcar, which was, of course, a secular ad, the RTA, the Regional Transit Authority, would have preferred not to have accepted our ad. And so they talked to their in-house attorney, who in turn contacted an attorney whom he thought could give him good advice, who happened to have been associated with the ACLU. And his advice was, you can turn down their ad, but you will probably be looking at a lawsuit. So, we've got a friend in the ACLU.
Yes, definitely. I mean, anyone trying to just practice their beliefs, secular or non-secular, you have a friend. You have a friend in the ACLU, definitely. And when you're just trying to live your life by our nation's Constitution, especially the Bill of Rights, we're here to help. And sometimes we do get in Louisiana especially, we get a really bad rap with the religious community is where our bad rap
primarily, yes.
Primarily, which, and coming, from a religious background myself, you see that there's missing elements when people don't understand what we do. And then when you start to fill that in, it helps. And when you realize we're just going back to what the Founding Fathers wanted, and that's, and I think the Iowa decision said it beautifully yesterday. They said that the Constitution isn't ever changing, that the Founding Fathers left it, for stuff like gay marriage that wasn't there when the Constitution was written. Yes. And that's all we're trying to say is, equal protection or religious liberty. There might be religions now that weren't recognized 20 years ago, but they're still religions.
And that Supreme Court decision said that churches have every right to determine whom they choose to marry.
Yep.
But that under the Constitution, they cannot discriminate on who can get a marriage license.
Definitely.
Well, we still have a long way to go on that issue.
Yes, definitely. We do.
You mentioned earlier that one of the topics that you discussed on your trips was the Patriot Act. What is it that you all discuss in respect to that?
Well, I actually had a class at Tulane. There was a class called Foreign and Domestic Terrorist. And what we're trying to just expose is that we feel the Patriot Act in many instances is ripping away at the Fourth Amendment, which is just search and seizure. Warrantless searches, this is things that we tried to escape from the Crown. I mean, you were talking, founding of the nation, just British soldiers going into your house. And we're sort of feeling like if we don't kind of conform the Patriot Act and set it back where it was supposed to be pre 9/11, we're in kind of it's a slippery slope to when will the Fourth Amendment. There's also a speech component. I think before the reinstatement, the Patriot Act said that you couldn't talk to a lawyer or a friend or anything if you received a national security letter, which was a subpoena. As you know, that's completely against the First Amendment of the United States, your freedom of speech and freedom of redress. That's also part of the First Amendment. So we don't do a lot of work on the Patriot Act. National actually does. They have a whole national security section on their webpage. We just happen, because we're the ACLU affiliate here, and someone made a call, I just happen to go help that class out. So we don't actually do it.
What other topics do you, in your education and outreach, what other topics do you cover?
A lot of racial justice stuff. As many people know, we're sometimes not as far as we need to be considering racial justice. And what I mean by that, we did a racial profiling study that ended in May, I believe, last May. And it just showed that overwhelmingly African American or people of color are stopped by the police and sometimes searched. And these are, again, warrantless searches. And it's basic racial profiling. The car they were driving, from the color of their skin. And we're just trying to bring awareness to that issue and trying to get people to realize that this isn't helping crime in any way. It's not stopping anything.
When you say bringing awareness, does that include awareness in the law enforcement agencies?
Definitely. All the law enforcement agencies got a copy of our study. Anyone, if they want to contact the office through online, if you want a copy of the study, you're more than welcome. It's a really interesting study. There's a few stories in there that are highlighted of just, blatant racial profiling. Someone was pulled over or even flagged. That we have one guy, an older gentleman actually, in our racial profiling study, a veteran of war. Came home, he's retired. Him and his wife make, a decent salary because he's a retired military. So every couple of years he was buying a brand new Camry. And the cops flagged him as a drug dealer because he was an African-American man with a brand new car every couple of years. So he's an undue harassment.
Yes.
But yet he's, a former veteran. So you see this whole, you see people in this trap because of race that we haven't solved yet.
Do you see any improvement, say, in the New Orleans Police Department in that respect?
We didn't specifically do NOPD, so I don't feel like I could answer to that. But, personally, in my life, speaking with cops, I don't see an improvement. I see that racial profiling is very deep-seated within the system, and for some reason I think people think it works, and our study and other studies of other states actually found that it's quite opposite. It doesn't work at all.